Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in. As many of you may know, my name is Ray Smith, one half of the Acre Boys. And Acre Boys are active land investors. When I say active, I say that to say that we've been able to help a lot of people over the course of the last 2 years. We've been able to help a lot of people gain information, first and foremost, about the land space. We've been able to help a lot of people complete land transactions. And what I love about the people that we've been able to help, many of these people that we've been able to help, they came to us with no experience. So we've been able to get them started with as entry-level investors, put them on their road to become successful land investors. To give you a little background about me and my partner, the Acre Boys, we were just like any other land investor before previously having success in this space. We had never heard of land investing or tax deed investing and some of the things that we teach these days, right? We were just looking to better ourselves and we were looking for opportunity, and we stumbled across this great space called land, right? The land business. We came into this space, entry-level investing, doing tax deed investing. I said on a live before, tax deed investing is where you're buying properties from online auctions, or you could be buying them in person at the auctions. We came in buying them online. We were working our regular 9-to-5 jobs. By trade, I was a union stagehand worker. I set up concerts for a living. So I was constantly not home, especially in the summertime, because when do most shows happen? Summertime. We set up a lot of shows. I was one of the main guys there. So to make the money, you had to be there. The quality of life was very poor because I was never home. I didn't have a chance to spend a lot of time with friends and family mostly, which was very near and dear and very important to me, putting that time in with my children. Jay was by trade a sanitation truck driver. And he had been doing that for a lot of years. And that's a lot of wear and tear on the body in that industry. All right. So we was just looking to change our life, looking for something that made sense to us. And we just sat out, went on our search, and we found land investing. We found our mentors. They were teaching people how to buy land for pennies on the dollar. That was intriguing to me. I can buy what? For pennies on the dollar. When I say pennies on the dollar, $50, $100, $150, $500, $1,000. These were numbers that were very doable. It sounded very attractive to me. I had never heard of land flipping, right? Because we're considered to be land flippers, meaning that we buy the land, and as soon as we buy it, we put it back on the market for a profit, right? That's it in a nutshell, is what a land flipper does. This is not wholesaling. Don't get it confused with wholesaling. Similar, but wholesaling is you have to have an end buyer before you buy it, or wholesaling is they'll take the property and they'll find an investor to invest in it, and then they'll find an end buyer. There's several ways to go about wholesaling, but we're not wholesalers. I don't know why people frown on that word, wholesalers, but they do pretty well themselves. I think if you are a wholesaler and you hear me speaking this language, you'll have one up in this industry because you should understand a lot of the terminologies that we use in this business. So what I want to focus on today, because it's a topic that comes up in our audience a lot of times, is where can I buy or find the most or the least inexpensive land throughout the country? So I wanted to focus on these places of where you can find inexpensive land. And I wanted to talk about why is it so inexpensive? And I wanted to talk about how could you participate in some of these places and position yourself to get inexpensive land for those that may be looking for inexpensive land. So I took the pleasure of jotting down the top 5 states that you can find the least expensive land throughout the country, right? And coming in at number 1 is Arizona. Coming in at number 2 is Mississippi. Coming in at number 2 is New Mexico. Coming in at number 3 is Mississippi. Coming in at number 4 is Colorado. And coming in at number 5 is Arkansas. Now, somebody might be saying, well, these places are not that inexpensive. The breakdown of why these are some of the most inexpensive places to buy land is because they have pockets, they have areas, they have counties that have really inexpensive land. Take Arizona, for instance. Sure, there's pockets where they have land that goes up into a couple of 100,000. They have homes that go up into the millions in certain areas. But Arizona also has places when it comes to land, you can buy the land. I've seen it for less than $1,000 in Arizona. I've seen it for less than $500 in Arizona. These 5 places that I named, I've participated and bought some of these pieces in all of these places except Colorado. I can't speak for Colorado, but when it comes to Arizona, when it comes to New Mexico, when it comes to Mississippi, when it comes to Arkansas, me personally, I have bought land in all 4 of these places, and it is true that you can find some really inexpensive prices in there. Arizona, desert land. You're going to find desert land there that's going to be for dirt cheap. Why? Because it's going to be a desolated, isolated place. Who wants this land? You may be thinking that. Is this valuable land? What could be done with it? Of course it is. It's land. It's the earth. Of course there's value in it, right? A lot of people like to use this land for recreational uses, to go out camping, unbeknownst to a lot of people that there's a whole audience that's just looking for this specific niche. They like being like off the grid or away from people, right? They want to be isolated when they go out on their camping trips or field trips or family trips, whatever you may consider to be isolated. Arizona offers it because they have a lot of desert land that you can get for really, really cheap prices. Certain places in Arizona, you can buy acres and acres, 40 acres, 50 acres, a couple of $1,000, right? You have to know how to go about getting them. We'll get to that. How do I go about putting myself in position to landing acres in Arizona and some of these other places, right? New Mexico, same thing as Arizona, almost the same breakdown. Clearly, there's well-to-do areas in New Mexico, but they also have a lot of inexpensive land, especially their desert land is really inexpensive, right? You can go online and find some of these places yourself. But I always tell people when you're dealing with this desert land, and always make sure you grab a piece that has road frontage. A lot of the desert land is landlocked. We've seen in New Mexico, you can get up to, 40 to 100 acres. Sometimes it's landlocked and it's so far out there that it's not even worth getting. These places really offer these type of deals. I personally stay away from them because it's so far out. And but a lot of people, it's attractive to them. So with all of that said, you have to know what your end game is. You have to know what your goal is with looking for this inexpensive land. Because if you want to get 40 acres, that's totally off the grid, and you don't mind going out there into these isolated places, it offers it. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. In a lot of cases, if it's not from a tax sale, the homeowners will break down the difference of how you can get them, whether that's from a tax sale or a homeowner. But if it's coming from a tax sale, you're at the mercy of the auction of what can be done and how you get it. But if it's coming from a homeowner, a lot of times you could strike a deal doing a seller finance option. All right, we'll circle back to all of those things. Next, Mississippi, really inexpensive places. Now, Mississippi, how it's broken down is these inexpensive places in Mississippi, these are going to be sometimes very rural areas and sometimes just not well-to-do areas, bad areas, or what we consider to be bad areas. You can get really inexpensive properties in some of these places. Clearly, Mississippi, like the other 2 states that we mentioned, properties and areas, they can run up to the hundreds and hundreds of thousands. Each place offers that same scenario, but you could get really inexpensive land in Mississippi. I know because I played there heavily at one point. That's an area that we concentrated on. Colorado, as I stated, I've done research and I've seen really inexpensive pockets of Colorado. That's the one place that I'm less versed in out of the 5 is Colorado, but it is coming up as one of the top of one of the top 5 places that you can find inexpensive land. Arkansas. I've done a lot of things in Arkansas. So I know Arkansas, you can get it for really, really low prices. This is where I have purchased the least expensive land of my career has came from Arkansas. Anybody that's been following us has heard us tell this story hundreds of times. We were buying land for $50 from Arkansas. That scope has changed since, but there is at times places in Arkansas that you can still get it for $50 right now. So when we say these inexpensive prices, don't get so excited if you don't know what you're doing, because it doesn't make sense to buy a property for $50 and you don't know if it's a good piece or what to do with it. Now, education is going to be key about buying an expensive land, expensive land. Education. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know if you're buying a good piece. You need to know how to get rid of it or what your end use of the property would be. Whether it's $50, $500, $5,000, or $500,000. Why lose any money? That's why I always encourage education, because if you are getting it for inexpensive prices, now, once you know how to continuously do that and how to continuously make money on it, you have now effectively created yourself an ecosystem that you can put on a schedule. You can kind of predict how much money could be made, and you can scale this business up once you have the education on how to do so. That's why the education is so important, because the land has always been there and it will continue to be there, right? You want to get yourself and position yourself to be in front of these type of things, get the education so you can systematically scale your business up. Me and my partner, we have been able to walk away from our 9-to-5 jobs by using some of these same practices and strategies that I'm speaking of. In the beginning, we bought land while working our 9-to-5 jobs. We bought inexpensive properties or properties in bad areas for inexpensive prices. We made money on them. We put the money, the profits to the side from our land flips, and we were able to scale our buys and our business that way by strategically, systematically buying one piece turned to buying 5 pieces at a time. 5 pieces then turned to buying 10 pieces at a time. And then 10 pieces turned to trying to buy as much as we could at a time. So it took some time to get to that point, right? Nothing happens overnight. You have to walk. You have to crawl before you walk. You have to walk before you run, right? It didn't happen overnight. This is not a get rich quick scheme. In fact, it's not a scheme at all, but this is not hurry up and get rich. This is real estate. This is investing into real estate like any other investment. Have to be smart, watch it grow, right? It took time. Now, Arkansas, no desert land in Arkansas. So we're not going to find any desert land there. So why are the properties really inexpensive? Because these areas or these pockets that you find in these really cheap properties at, these are deemed to be not so well-to-do areas. Meaning that, like, how do we break down what's a not so well-to-do area? Or there's a couple of ways. High crime, that would put that in the category of not so good area, or not well-to-do, or bad area, right? High crime could be one. The median price or the median salary that some or the area produces or the people make there, that can deem it as a bad area, right? Less than $24,000, I believe that's the median salary in the United States that's deemed as poor or as a poor area. So the median price that they make or the salary that the people make in those areas, that will put it in the category of a bad area. But I always say, a bad area is only based upon the eyes of the beholder of the person that is shopping in that area. Someone lives there. Like if you were buying a bad area and no one lived there, then I would definitely pump my brakes unless I had a strategy for that area. But if someone lives there, even if it's a bad area, someone's interested in buying the property where they live. because all properties, even in well-to-do areas, who wants the properties? The people that live there. You're not going to find somebody that live in Beverly Hills go to Arkansas to buy inexpensive properties. You're not going to find someone in Arkansas be going to Beverly Hills to buy properties there. You understand? You catch my drift? My drift is that the highest chance or the highest percentage of that property selling usually comes within a 1 to 5 mile radius of where the property is located at. That's where your buyer usually comes from, within a 1 to 5 mile radius. All right. So when it comes to desert land, you that 1 to 5 mile radius will change because this is going to be recreational properties. All right. That's what you're going to find with the desert land properties. This is going to be or special use properties. That's what they're going to use these things for out in the desert. But what prices could you expect? Right? You could expect to pay anywhere from those 5 places, $100 on up to a couple of $1,000. Entry level investing. Why are they so cheap? We went over those. These areas, they will have a lot of them. You can get them from an auction. That's one place you can focus on. Getting them from the auction. That's one place. All right. And it'll be really inexpensive. Now, when you're playing at an auction, you're at the mercy of what the auction tells you can do. Meaning that if the auction says the bid is $700, the bid is $700. You won't go against what the auction is telling you to do, right? The other way you can go about getting the land for really inexpensive prices is targeting the area, know what the area does, know the comps of the area, and that's the area that you want to play in, depending on your budget. If you have a budget, say, hey, I have $2,000 and I'm looking for a specific piece of property, just do your comps in the area of Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Mississippi, any of those areas. Start to pull comps and see where the least inexpensive land is coming up at. Then you target those areas. Then you have to figure out who's the homeowner. I'm giving you the game of what I would do and what I have done. Then you figure out who's the homeowner. You're saying, well, I don't know how to figure out who's the homeowner. That's when you have to go and seek mentorship to show you how to put an effective campaign together, right? This is a vital piece of the puzzle. Finding out who's the homeowner and how we can send them an offer for their land. Why I like this is called direct to owner, right? Why I like this philosophy is because it allows us to be more flexible. It allows us to say how much we're willing to pay. It allows us to say, I want this property or that property in this area or that area. We have more flexibilities to do what we like to do, unlike playing at an auction where the auction is telling you that's the property, take it or leave it. Here's the price, take it or leave it. Both ways are highly effective, both ways, but I like direct to owner more because I'm more in control, and I like being in control, especially when it comes to me placing my money in areas. I like the idea that I can be in control of the transaction. If that makes sense to you, I hope that makes sense to you, right? So if you're thinking about buying some land, those are some of the places, and I'm giving you those places because those are some of the places that you can go on the market, the retail market, and still find them for reasonable prices. All right. Inside of our program, we can take those same prices and chop them in half. In many cases, chop more than half. 60% down, 70% down from the retail price. That is what land flippers do. That is what we teach others to do, how to get properties at deep discounted prices. So if the area was selling for an acre, right? If an acre in New Mexico was selling for $2,000, $3,000, I would want to get it as a land flipper for $900, $800. Because if it sells for $2,000, I want to at least position myself to be able to flip my money plus some. Really, I like to double my money. So my offer may need to be $750, $650, $650. Somebody saying, wow, $600? Yeah, $650. That's what we want to offer. We want to make money. If the area is going for $3,000, drop it below. What would you offer if an area was going for $3,000? How much would you offer for the property? You may be on your way to being a successful land investor. Me, myself, I like an offer for an area that's going for $3,000. I like $650. And we never know. Somebody today may need $650 to get rid of a property that they're just sitting on and not using. This is how the game goes. And now you see that scenario. Just think if that was a $30,000 property. How much would you offer for a $30,000 property? I like $13,000. I like that number. All right. So this is what we do in all areas. We target areas, we study these areas, we figure out what the market is doing, we figure out what properties are doing, we figure out how long they're staying on the shelf, how fast they're getting off the shelf, the prices that they're selling for. The more information that we know, the better educated that we are, the better decisions that we can make, the more money we can make, the more educated that we are. So that is what we do in a nutshell. And you can do the same thing. So I want to invite you personally, come sit with us this Thursday. Come sit with us, right? Come sit with us and we'll give you a whole training on how to go about doing all of these things that we discussed during this live. We'll break it down from start to finish on how you target areas, right? You definitely want to know what's going on in the area. And this works across the country. You definitely want to target an area first, know what's going on in that area. And then you want to figure out, because there's multiple ways, or the top two ways that we buy land is from an auction or from an owner, right? And then in that area, you want to figure out what's going on. What do you want to do in there? You want to participate in auctions in that area, or do you want to get it directly from owners in that area? All right. Once you figure that out, then if it is getting it from the owner, then you want to figure out who those owners are. You want to know all the owners in that area and everything that they own. Then we're going to position ourselves to make them an offer to buy their land at a discounted price. Once we become the owner, we show you how to do all of these things, how to go about closing out a deal. And in many cases, I wasn't going to talk about this, but while we're on it, and in many cases, if you don't have the money, if it's a good deal, y'all heard us say this a lot of times, we'll put the money up for you, partnering on the deal. All right. So there's no excuses. We took all the excuses off the table. I don't have the money. You do need money for education. All right. You need money for education. But once you have the education, you don't need money to buy a good deal. Bring me a good deal. I'll personally put the money up for you. I like making money. I like making money with other people, right? What else do we want to talk about today? So I just had an investor who just made 1 year's salary off of one land deal. I think the biggest flex for us is that we're able to help somebody else be successful. I think the biggest flex is that I can say, not what I've done, right? I'm comfortable in my own skin at this point. I'm comfortable with saying I know what I'm doing, and I'm comfortable with knowing that I can go out and do it again. So the biggest flex for us these days is being able to say, I help somebody make off of one transaction. I help somebody make what they would do in 1 year in their job off of one deal. So that's a really, really good feeling. So I had a young man who made close to what he makes in 12 months off of one deal. That is phenomenal. And it pleases us to know these things and hear these things because there's enough to go around, right? Half the country is vacant. There's so many deals and so much property out there in the ecosystem of the land space to go after. That's why we always like talking about this. That's why we say things like it's recession proof. When have you ever heard anybody saying that, oh, the land space is drying up? I'm waiting, because you're not going to hear it. In fact, Jay put a post up this morning saying Trump says he's going after federal land to build more housing. There's a housing shortage. If they want to build more houses, what do they have to get first? They have to get the land first. All right? This is a ground floor opportunity. Ground floor. It's so much opportunity in this space. There's so many things that could be done with land, raw, vacant land, not just put homes on them. There's several things that you can do with land. There's several ways to monetize land. We'll do a whole nother live about that. How do we monetize land besides building or putting a structure on it? There's a plethora of things that you can do. All right. We'll do a whole nother live about that. So I couldn't be more excited for my investor who just had that money that he made, that 1 year salary or for one land deal. Other thing, free community is always open. Our room is growing exponentially. Our room is growing. Our free community. Come in there, come meet the people, share what you have to share, talk about what you have to talk about, get whatever questions you have to get answered. We'll love to have you. That link is in our bio. Come into the free community. And that's where you'll hear about some things that we don't talk about on a regular basis on social. Sometimes we drop links in there about auctions. I just dropped a link in there about an auction that is coming up inside of there. And last but not least, before I get out of here, in the world of tax deed investing, I put a post up last week that said, give me $1,250. I'll give you back $7,000, $7,000 through $14,000. What I was referring to, that there's a place that you can go and buy land inside of our community. If you were in our community or part of our program, you would be there right now looking for deals. All right. So opportunity, people, opportunity, knock, knock, knock. Opportunity is constantly knocking at your door. Open the door, have a conversation with the opportunity to see if this makes sense with you, because you're missing out on opportunities that can help or change a lot of things for you. Trust me, I know. But if you're not going to open that door, hearing good information and doing nothing with it is equivalent to not hearing it. So don't just always hear us talk about this stuff. Get involved, be active. I want you to go out and be successful and make money too, just like that other investor that made the 1 year salary. By the way, prior to meeting us, just like a lot of you guys, he had no previous experience before meeting us. He had never heard about flipping land before meeting us. All right. So you can do the same thing that a garbage truck driver did, the same thing that a stagehand was able to do. No experience. We just got good with some things. We took time to sit down, learn information, and got really, really good with it. So there's plenty of opportunities. We have a free community that we invite you to. Free training, right? Link is in the bio. This week, free training. Come sit down with us and hear all about the space. Free training is this Thursday, and we give out plenty of free jewels. In fact, even in this live, I hope you heard something that was helpful that may help you go out if you decide not to ever come in our program, that will help you go out and make some decisions about buying a piece of dirt. I strongly encourage everyone, if you could, you should go out and buy a piece of dirt in whatever area that it is that you're looking to be or place your money, whether that's as an investment, whether that's as an buy and hold, or whatever you decide to do with it. Is plenty out there, and it is very lucrative. What happens if you buy a piece of that inexpensive land for $500, $1,000? Taxes on it is traditionally low, maybe $24 a year in some of these places. And you hold on that. Let's say that's the next opportunity zone. That same $1,000 now have just turned to a couple of 100,000. Potentially. We never know. We never know where this is going next. We never know where a new town is going to pop up or a new hot area. This is how it works. We never know. Arizona, some of these places that's well-to-do in Arizona. I promise you, not too long ago, some of them was just desert land. I promise you that it was just isolated land. They built on it. Now it looked like it's been there forever, and you're wild. But it works just how I just explained it. At some point, Who owned that land when there were no $1 million homes on it? And I promise you they got it for dirt cheap. They put themselves in position to cash out. They start building up the area. The price of the land, the price of the homes went through the roof. Somebody made a lot of money. So position yourself to do the same thing. Come inside of our community, our free community. Join our free training this Thursday, and I'll see you over there. Hope this was helpful to somebody. Share this post with me. Like this post. If you're on YouTube, help us grow this channel. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, share this with family and friends. If you're on Instagram, you can comment the word. What's our keyword for to get into the community? It's going to be mentor. Comment the word mentor on Instagram and you'll get information. All right. See you guys tomorrow, perhaps. Have a good one.